to get started. Are we live now? Are we good? Awesome. Is there a video on? It's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get started in respect for everybody else's time that joined us. We got some people virtually, and we thank you all for coming in person. I already know a bunch of agents that are outside in the hall that I've already said hi to today that will slowly, like, I gotta go out and ring the dinner bell every time this year. Do this, right? Well, I know. Right, yeah. So yeah, no, so thank you all for joining. This is one of the most important topics that we talk about on our Lunch and Learn series. We have a bunch of different market specific topics or current event type of stuff or third-party speakers that are unique and whatnot in our Lunch and Learn series. But this is one that's pretty static, but it's specific to today's market at the same time. So don't get me wrong, it's not current. And again, this is the most important thing that we should be doing and knowing for our services here at Free. Now, are you going to start going after these type of clients and being really, really good at it? Probably not. Am I going to recommend, if you're a brand new agent, to only focus on this? Probably not. There's a lot of other types of business that may be a little bit less of a barrier to entry to acquiring. But as your career progresses, sellers and listings are the number one thing that you should prioritize. If you look at the top agent in town, why are they the top agent? Because they have the most listings. You have way more control. Now, whether it's a buyer or seller's market, you have way more control in the process. Yes, you can get very successful working with buyers, but you can also get very frustrated working with just buyers, right? It sometimes is a roller coaster unless you get really, 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 really good at understanding. And what I call is having a good sniffer is knowing the motivation and timing. Hey, welcome in. Kirby, would you mind closing that door too when you get a chance? But yeah, so on the buy side, knowing that is tough. I have an agent who I gave $1 million lead to the other day, and they're like, nope. And I'm like, oh, that's strange. With a high price point, prospect. Okay, weird, but I'll give it to somebody else. And then a couple of days later, $100,000 deal came across his lap that wasn't company generated, and he closed it. And I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? He's like, oh, that was guaranteed, right? And he goes, the other guy, that was never gonna sell, or they was never gonna buy. Knowing that, right, really sets people apart, right? So it's something to think about and know. I usually say, I field all grounders, right? I field all grounders, whether or not the ball's about to go foul or not, right? And take it from there. And you can always bow out. You don't want to wait until the last minute to bow out. But anyways, back to sellers. A couple of things to mention before we get started. Our preferred lender, United Home Loans, downstairs. They're a great resource if you guys ever need to get a pre-approval for your buyer before you go out. Make sure that you reach out to them. Declan downstairs, his link in our emails that we send to you guys is right to his apply now page. Your buyers say, oh, I want to talk to the lender. First step, apply and then talk to the lender, because every time I know what the lender is going to say is, I can have this whole conversation with you, but it's all going to be, I'm going to have to rehab it with you again until you apply. So do that and then say, hey, I just applied. Would you mind setting up time? Tell your buyer, you'll save yourself a ton of time by just doing that. We also have a new preferred lender, a new program that we're rolling out. Is a tenant that actually just moved into the 4th floor. They're not completely moved in yet. However, they are a nationally chartered bank called Texana Bank. And there is an ability for you guys all very, very easily to become licensed mortgage brokers and to earn a commission on it. They've kind of deregulated that space. It's all in the up and up. You have to make sure it's all compliant and all this stuff. But I think you can make up to, I think it's a half a point, all depending on the situation. We have a transaction coordinator service. If you guys are finding it difficult with your time, this is more for more experienced agents when they have too many listing appointments to go to and they're having to do paperwork and it's holding them back from prospecting more or going to more listing appointments. This is a great option. It is a stepping stone to getting a personal assistant, right? You don't have the full cost of a personal assistant, or you don't have to pay somebody hourly when you're not sure it's going to get you any business. It is a cost at closing or 3 months, whatever's greater. And so it's a way to defer that cost and take it out of your commissions. Also, friendly reminder, at every Thursday at 10 a.m., so right before this, in this office, we do a conversion call training session. It's a role play clinic that we do on a weekly basis with our coaching platform. We record these and put these on the Agent Center. So honestly, most people just listen to them online. It is how I learned how to talk on the phone, the sales strategy, the sales psychology behind how to convert, close any kind of sales that you're trying to do is really, really good. How to use this word, not that word, because it means something different, and so that's really great. I highly recommend those if you haven't listened to them. Kind of like working out for your brain, right? You listen to them to get back on after a couple of years too. They're great. If you want to get on live, then you got to come in. We don't set it up every time because typically not anybody comes in, but you're more than welcome to. If you want to get on live and test your calls, but listen to them a couple times. You can listen. You'll hear on the recorded ones. There's some pretty brutal sales people that are trying to get into the industry now. If you guys ever want to set up a one-on-one coaching call with myself, Jenny, front desk, Jen, we are Kirby. We have a link to all of our calendars, so you guys can just set time with us. And whether it's virtual, phone call, in person, however you want to handle it, up to you. We also have a national referral network. I'm sorry if I'm kind of repeating a lot of this stuff, but yeah, if you guys ever need to refer anybody, reach out. We're happy to help you find an agent in our network nationally, right? And always keep an eye out for updates. We'll let everybody know about updates to the Agent Center as they. Okay. First step in working with sellers, right? Unless you got people calling you off the hook, and if you do, it means your marketing is good. But you got to get people calling you, right? I cold call. Don't get me wrong. I don't highly recommend it for every situation, right? We have a lot of different services and products that we offer besides just sales, right? But unless you have people calling you off the hook, you need to do marketing to get people to call you, right? You should be responding to warm leads. That's what all the leads that we give out here are. They've inquired with us and you're just getting back to them, right? So if you don't have anybody doing that, we need to work on our marketing. Some of the things that agents struggle the most with. How are you marketing to people? Now, when I worked with and I sold the most real estate, most listings, when I would heavier transaction, when we didn't have any agents here, I went around town, and when I sold the year that I sold the most real estate, think about this. The year that I sold the most real estate was the year that I offered the most and provided the most valuations to people. Huh. What are those lines? Huh? Okay. So, and we all know sales is a numbers game, right? Sales is a numbers game. So the more you talk to people means the more people you're going to talk to that want to buy or sell real estate. And the more people that you talk to that want to buy or sell real estate means the more clients you'll have. The more clients you have means the more contracts you have. The more contracts you have, the closing you have. The more closing you have means the more dollars in your pocket. Right? So one of my big marketing things is why not just run around town offering valuations to people? Right? Now, am I going to go down to the pet store and just stand in line at the pet store and offer valuations to people? Well, maybe not. Maybe not the most targeted place. Why people have pets, right? They don't buy a pet and then buy a house, right? But like now you think about where you're placing these ads to maximize your time and your effort and your conversion, right? What about, one of the biggest things that I found as a motivator for my sphere recently, as my sphere is kind of towards the tail end of starting to have kids and everything, right? But I had a bunch of friends, really, really close friends who've used me. Coincidentally, a lot of my closest friends' parents all have a real estate license, of course, right? But the ones that did use me, man, they're the ones that sign the listing agreement the fastest, and they offer the fastest, and are the most motivated when they've got a baby on the way. So what about, I know when we had our first kid, we went to, baby classes. Now, was the hospital gonna violate HIPAA and let you in? Absolutely not. But think about that, and like, is that weird and targeted and salesy to a certain point, maybe, but like, how could you leverage though, it's just an analogy, like you can think through that marketing idea to relate it to other types of marketing. Somebody that I knew that was really successful used to do something with the HR departments. If you know somebody that works in HR for a larger corporation, tell them, I'll come by. Hey, you want an amenity for all of your employees, right? Outside of work hours, what about a free home buying seminar? Well, that's buying. We want to talk about selling, right? But free home buying seminar. Not only are you, if any of your employees buy houses, they're more likely to stay at the current job, right? And they stay locally, which is going to help you with employee retention. All right. It's a free amenity that you can offer them, and I'll give them pizza. And so you could say, oh, look at me as HR. I'm providing all these employee benefits. Right. And that was great. Brought in, and the lender bought pizza. But some other things is farming a neighborhood. Where do you live? You should know everybody on your block, know everybody on the street. You should know the thing like the back of your hand. Sometimes I say, if it's not where you live that you're going to become a market expert, it's where you want to live that you're going to become a market expert. Pick a target, get really, really hyper local, start a couple blocks, and make sure you're marketing to everybody on that block, and that they know you, right? Then as soon as you start to sell a couple things, right? Ooh, I've sold the most real estate on this block. I just sold one. All right. It only takes one. I've sold the most real estate in the block since that house is sold. Well, that technically is true. So advertise that to everybody, right? Then it becomes 2 blocks, then it becomes neighborhood, then it becomes all the neighborhoods, then it becomes zip code, then it becomes municipality, then it becomes county. So think about that. A lot of agents also, they may get all the listings sent to them that are in their area. But you know what they don't get sent to them in their area? When something goes under contract. Why would I want to know that? Well, my client, you don't want to send it to your client, right? But you as the agent then know, okay, this came live. I know so many agents that get listings sent to them all day, but they don't know, okay, they get 45 listings a day, but they don't know which ones of those went under contract. And then they don't get notification. You as an agent can set up a sales, like a search only to yourself, can't send it to clients when stuff closes too. Boom. And some of the most successful agents that I know have save searches on the MLS to notify them of sales that happen. Why would you want to know? It's already sold. But success leaves breadcrumbs. And as you know that, and it's like when you go and talk, you run into somebody in the store, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about selling. It's like, yeah, did you see 123 Main Street just sold? Right? Because you know that. Right. And when you talk about working in your neighborhood, you know of the coffee shop down the street. You know of the new restaurant that's going in a couple months. Right. And so you're able to have a more detailed conversation hyper locally. And as that expands and as you get familiar, or if you're targeting a new location that you want to get in, right? So think about that. What's your call to action? Anybody done an ad recently or been marketing to an area that has a call to action?
I kind of. Yeah,
Sure.
With my RV.
Sorry?
With the RV that I rent.
Okay.
So the call to action, like this link.
Yeah, right.
To book your appointment.
Right. Yeah. Book. Right. I've already talked about one. Does anybody remember what it is? Like free valuation, right? No obligation to sell, right? No cost. I mean, so when they do that, the whole idea is to kind of baby steps them into the whole conversation. Who wants a valuation? Who wants to know what their home's? Yes, but more targeted. Who wants to know about people that want to sell their real estate, want to know what it's worth, and they're willing to ask a professional, right? Everybody wants to go online and see what the zest is, right, without talking to anybody. But who's willing to actually reach out to you? So then, once you get the inquiry, right, we'll get into that in a little bit. But try and get in the hole. So there's paid ads. Have you guys worked any paid Google pay-per-click? Tim can help you guys, right? Great, sleek, modern marketing technique graphics that are some branded, some unbranded, right? A lot of our coaching thing says do unbranded stuff. Now it's got to have, certain types of law requiring branded items on there, but the least branded you can have on some of your ads, could get people to click on it a little bit more. And sometimes, to be honest with you, we use some of the social media features where they fill the form out on social media. And what social media does, it already knows their name. It already knows their email address. It already knows their phone number for, authentication purposes. So guess what? It pre-fills those things in there and makes it easy to click and then click, right? The social media, we can help you with it, right? You create an ad account, right? You don't have to share your social media profile or your burner account with us, but you share, once you create an ad account, you then could invite our marketing team to help you run those ads, which is great, right? Set a monthly budget. And then mailers are great. Mailers work. I went into a listing appointment the other day and I was like, if you didn't work with me, who would you have worked with? Pulls out of his drawer 3 mailers. He goes, I would have called one of these.
I sent you a reel today. I don't know if you saw it yet.
No.
Of my friend did, she's a student for work. And she just had a listing, and the seller called her and she went to go do the listing presentation. The first thing the seller did was pull out this little, if she had sent these balls, fold it up in a little wrapper, and her card was right on the front with her photo, and she sent them 2 summers ago. And they were like, I still have this, so I called you. So a marketing effort she made 2 years prior, thinking, okay, maybe it didn't result in much, but he still called.
Yeah, you'd be surprised after you start doing it for a while, and what I do is a little leaving breadcrumbs all over, a little here, 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 and all of a sudden, ding, oh yeah, that was that link that I put out there a long time ago, and leave all these different opportunities, right? And, obviously you want to have a little bit of a direction or a strategy in this, right? Some of our coaching is going to go through what are your lead sources, right? I want everybody here to, you know, this is a separate marketing conversation, but we're talking about marketing, right? You need to have 5 lead sources. You need to have them written. I typically recommend to put them in a digital format, but written out, but also in a format where those are going to get. I know so many people that create or write things down on a Google Doc and then just never come across it again. Right. So like when you're time blocking, like attach it to that calendar and then so you're going in there and seeing it again. It's coming somehow, some reminder is being sent to you or automate an email to be sent to you again or delay send every time you get it is reset snooze buttons, whatever. Right. Again, could get lost, whatever, but have your lead sources written down and stay consistent, right? So yeah, so there's, you know, it's a little bit of marketing to sellers. Yes.
Do you advocate marketing by referral? In other words, instead of blanket.
You mean marketing to your sphere?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I mean, so if I typically say if you took a poll of the last 100 sale transactions in our marketplace, 90 to 95 out of 100 of them will tell you, oh, where'd you get the business from? Oh, it was a referral or it was somebody I knew.
Right.
So if you're not marketing to your sphere, you're missing out on 90 to 95% of all the business that's to be had.
I mean, your sphere can be, more than your people who are in your. But years ago, I was doing the Phoenix.
Yeah.
Working by referral,
Yeah.
and it was
Bust.
no, it was I mean,
Awesome.
it was awesome. I mean,
Great.
you're not throwing. It's like you're not throwing stuff against the wall hoping it comes fixed. You're repeatedly working with people who already know you.
Right. I think that, you know, if you're a brand new agent in a marketplace and you just moved to a new neighborhood, you don't know anybody and you want to go out and send a bunch of mailers and you're going to send one and, you know, then it's not going to work.
Right.
But, you know, for mailers and marketing and farming and all this stuff, my recommendation is that you don't send one mailer to 1,000 people.
Right.
You send, 5 mailers to 200 people.
Right. There was this one too.
Same number of mailers.
It's like 8 things in 8 weeks.
Right.
It's
Right.
And it worked.
Right. In one of our other series for Lunch and Learns, we do business planning for the year, and where it looks out like, how many dollars you want to make and reverse engineering that down to all of the daily action plans you need to do. So when you wake up every day, people get lost. People don't know what they need to do and whatever. And so when you wake up every day, how many, like, what do I need to do? All I need to do is get in touch with 3 people. And then, I'm going to push more than that. That's all I need to do in order to make what I need 3 new people. Right. And then, that all I got to do, that's all I got to do. That's all I got to do. And if putting out a mailer is one of those things for the day, right? Then that's that. If it's holding an event, right? Quarterly, so then you start mapping out your year. I need to do this weekly, this monthly, this quarterly. And so typically that's like having an event biannually, quarterly, whatever, sending a mailer quarterly or whatever. But when I send out a mailer, what I do is I typically do a farm plus my sphere. So when I did the Bears schedule, it's not available yet, but like we need to do it right soon. Caleb Williams is on the Madden cover nationally. It's a big, it's a Bears town, right? I always do the Bears because everybody's a Bears fan. Half people are Sox, half people are White Sox. Some people don't like hockey, right? Like, so I do, the Bears schedule every year. And I do a farm, I do a building, a neighborhood, an area that I want to work, and my sphere. And I also make it kind of funny. I think I had I had my daughter, I had my daughter in a Bears jersey, or maybe maybe we AI'd that or something. The Bears jersey for my daughter, at least, AI'd it, but anyways, yes, you should always market to your sphere. Okay, anything else for marketing to sellers? All right, we're going to go into converting. Once you get a lead, how do you convert them? What's your goal once you get a lead? What should be in the front of your mind when you get somebody to? Oh, sorry.
Make them decide.
Well, yeah, but how do you get? But what's before that? That's right. Don't get me wrong. That is the right answer. 100%. Well, you get them on the phone. Once you get them on the phone, what's your goal? Yes, get in front of them. So my goal when I first see a phone number or an email, because sometimes people are texting or respond to you or whatever, is to get in front. It is also a little bit of a motivating thing. Yes, if you're going to sell the real estate, you know what? I gotta meet them. If they're in Florida, maybe not. But guess what? You got to see the real estate still. You're the one that's going to be there, right? So why not push to see the real estate? Now, whether or not they're there is another thing, right? But at the end of the day, appointment to see the real estate or meet you or both together at the same time, right? That is the only thing I think about when a new phone number comes through. Is how do I get them in and have this, thing? And now, again, so when I first, before I did real estate, I went to college for program trading, and in an internship in the, it's kind of my journey to get into the trading world. I cold called for a stockbroker. Literally, the movie Boiler Room, or there's a couple of them. That's what I did. I literally would stand up so that my energy was up, and I had touch tone. It wasn't the circle one. A lot of people who cold call for stockbrokers that I commiserate with said, "Oh, I had to use the," and I'm like, "Okay, I'm not that." But hello, it's Jerry. I had a phone book, literally the white pages, yellow pages. I forget what it's called. And they had a lot of psychology. Now, when you first get somebody on the phone, right? I pretend like I'm a door-to-door salesman. And what happens when somebody comes up to your door trying to sell you something? Who's there? Right? Or they open it an inch. And the term getting your foot in the door, right? And that's what I try and do, to get my foot in the door so they can't close it now. Right? And it's baby steps. You got to ease them into it, right? I don't know the right race for it, right? But if you think about it, if this is a graph, right? It's as the beginning of time, right? Here, do you want to see here? There's another one right here's one. Over time, the beginning of time, their aversion to using you is the highest, right? And as time goes, their aversion goes down. So what can you say to decrease their aversion to working with you? Okay, well, don't work with me yet. But you don't have to agree to that. Holy cow. Right? Just give me a minute. Now after I give you a minute, so then you can get 5 minutes. And then once you have those conversations, it's like, okay, now you're invested in me, right? So I say, takes 5 minutes, and this is all the things that the conversion call teach you. A lot of other very, very detailed things to say, your script, all that stuff available on the Agent Center. But I highly recommend you go through this, right? The first 3 words out of your mouth are the most important. All right. Hi, this is Austin Pearson with Pearson Realty Group. Is Todd there? It's like when somebody says, "Is Austin there?" You know what I say? I say, "No, he's not." You know why? Because that person is trying to sell me something. I know it. Right? If somebody goes, "What's up, Austin? I got your inquiry." I'm like, "Oh shit, yeah, actually." Yeah, and I pretend like I know them because maybe I should know who they are and I forget, so when people comes up to you, it's like, "Hey, great to see you." It's like, Yeah, great to see you too. That is right, you know, right? But you want to be on your toes there. That's why I always say great to see you instead of meet you if I'm 100% positive, right? But I say that because then, I'm on my toes of, you know, I don't know, making them think, I don't want to make people think like, oh, have I met them or not? But like, at least I'm on ahead of that, right? So, anyways, don't be a realtor, don't be a salesperson, don't sell them something, go into it trying to set the appointment. Yes, that's your goal, but your goal should honestly be to help them, give them information. Hey, I got free and it's real good. Would you be interested? No, don't ever give me the free information. Right? And what? Okay, yeah. Okay, fine. You're not motivated, right?
Right.
You're probably not a lead, you're not a prospect. Get rid of it, right? Put them on prospect status is what we use in our CRM. It is a junk drawer that we then will help you mass market to in the future in case those resurface, which they do all the time. Don't delete them, or what we do is archive them. We don't really delete anything anymore. Where they got trillions of dollars going into data centers, but I digress. But just give them free information. Hey, would you be interested? Free, no cost, no obligation. If you're setting the appointment, I say it takes 5 minutes. Does it take 5 minutes? No, it doesn't. But why am I confident in saying that? Because it could.
Good.
It could. I could do it in 5 minutes. And I have done it in 5 minutes. To be honest with you, there was a tenant in this one place, and the guy lived in Florida. And I said, take 5 minutes, and it took 5 minutes. And I called him. I said, yep, I'm already out of there. I'll send it to you in the report. And, I had a good rapport with the guy, and I had sold a lot of other real estate for him. And it did take 5 minutes, legitimately. I just need to see the condition, size of the rooms, get a good feel for it, Go set the appointment, takes 5 minutes, no obligation to sell, and there's no cost to you. I do a lot of work in the neighborhood, and I'm happy to help. Oh, my job. And you need to practice that. And you need to have that roll off your tongue. Really, really good. Not only that part, that's the close to setting the appointment. You need to have the first couple words out of your mouth. Really, really, really good. I do role play with agents all the time. And I'm like, all right, ring, ring. This is Austin. And they go, and I'm like, yeah, see, got to practice it, right? Not only for that, because you're going to have these conversations when you don't even know that you're going to have the conversation and you're not ready for them, right? So this is why you got to be memorized. And you can't, great speeches, yeah, they read sometimes, or they have teleprompters or whatnot, but most of the time they've memorized a lot of that information to begin with, right? And it's what I've learned from public speaking in my career is being able to go off the cuff, but truly knowing the information and memorizing it, but also then keep you on track with being able to read it if you need to revert to them. So have your script in front of you, right? But memorize it. Have you guys read the purchase and sale agreement? The purchase and sale agreement? Yeah. Have you read the listing agreement? Just the standard city of Chicago one, whatever one that you typically use, right? Have you read it? Because most agents have it. Most agents who sell real estate have it. Most agents who do a lot of business have it, which is crazy. So wait, you are gonna talk somebody through signing an agreement that you haven't read. Well, guess what? Read it and understand it. And if you need AI to teach it what it means, type it into AI and say, what does that mean? And you can dive into asking a million different questions there. It will help you understand it. But same thing goes for now, once you've done that, then you get your script, right? Then you know your script, go through, memorize it, be able to stand up, practice it, look in the mirror, have, loved one at home, like go through it, right? That's about converting. And then again, 10 a.m. Thursdays before this and the first Thursday of the month, we do that in here. We do it live every Thursday if you want, but typically saved, recorded, put on the agent center. If you have issues getting on, call the front desk. They can help you. Any questions there? You guys have any issues with getting appointments after you get leads? Okay. Closing, listing and presentation. Once you're there, I mean, to be honest with you, what we used to say back in the day, people used to have multiple interviews lined up and then pick one at the end, right? So I used to say, be the last one in, because then you could say, oh yeah, the seller, I ask questions a lot. They allude to who came, or I try and get that out of them. And I don't want to say, have you talked to any agents yet? But like you can kind of feel them out and understand and tell if they have been or not, right? The best salespeople out there, right? They are very conscious. Okay, very conscious of the situation, what's going on. When I was new in the industry, this is everything we do, great. And they're like, awesome, we'll call ya. And then they wouldn't call. And I'd be like, what? I don't know. Now I'm much more aware of, and you can think on your feet to divert and change the situation, right? Some of that comes from experience of knowing what to do to divert to, right? Confidence and having, the reason why I'm so good at what I do is because I've been told no so many times, right? Unfortunately. I'm not saying that, and this is what we're doing here is to avoid those no's, right? So that you all don't have to go through it. But these days, people really just interview one person because they can do so much online and getting background. So if you Google yourself, what comes up? Because guess what? They're going to Google you. What does your LinkedIn say? That should be something that comes up higher in the list automatically. So fix your LinkedIn and you're good. What's your Zillow profile? Is it built out? So many people don't even have that photo on their Zillow profile, right? Do you need a bunch of sales on there? No, and you can say, I work on a team, it's all under somebody else's name. Look at the point to the company. We're a top producing growing company. Oh, have you heard of our company before? Most time people will say yes. And if they don't, you say, if you haven't heard of us yet, you're going to hear about us a lot in the future. And then I have a bunch of ads and we do a lot of marketing. When they go to our website, it follows them around. Just like when you guys want to go buy the favorite pair of shoes online and you don't click buy, guess what? It follows you around the internet. We do the same thing, right? For you. So these days, show up on time, you're professional, you prepare decent information. People want to walk away with something physical, right? I usually send it to them in an email. Sometimes I have to go home and update it. I haven't seen the home. I don't know what the best comps are. I can guess from an exterior standpoint. So whenever I'm showing up with that stuff, I say, look, I'm going to leave this with you, but I'm going to go back, right? I typically say, oh, thank you so much. I'm like, wow, 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 wow. Look around like that. I always compliment them on the home, but if you ask questions, this is your time to ask questions. Believe it or not, in my opinion, this is the craziest thing that I've learned is the seller tells you so much about the home in that time period. They don't want to tell anybody else again. They don't have to go through that again, right? I write a lot of stuff down because that's the time that they tell you the year that the water heater was replaced. And it's funny because they don't expect that they're going to have to do it again once they hire you. Because why are you remembering all of this marketing information you're going to put on the listing when they haven't even engaged you yet? Right? I think it's so funny. But if you think about it, right, get all that stuff down, and then you're locking them in, retaining them as a client because go through it again. I already got it all, right? So many times I've lost business to somebody where they have some sort of excuses. Well, they've already seen the house. I'll go and see it too, right? Like, well, I was talking to him first. Well, to get in to be that, make it easy on them. Well, I'm the guy, right? Okay, walk around, ask questions. When you first get there, they would say, "Oh, how do we do this?" You say, "Dad, can you show me around?" And then once you get to the end, so many times I've been in the basement, pop-ups over me, and we talk about our listing presentation. We're down there, right? And then to be honest with you, it happens a lot. We do a lot of 2-4 units. But I don't want to stay in a tenant's apartment in their kitchen, right? And so it's funny. I have a lot of these conversations, and it's supposed to happen there, right? But it's funny. I have a lot of listing marketing conversations in a dark, dingy basement, right? Because that's typically where you at. And it's not wrong by any means, but for somebody in a single family home, a condo, whatever, sometimes it makes sense to say, all right, let's go outside and talk, right? Or let's go sit down in the kitchen and talk. Some of the things you want to talk about, pricing, right? That's the whole reason why you're there, right? It's funny, I have on the bottom of this slide and the top of this slide, I say, so what do you think it's worth? Now, I have a lot of people who don't like that. And they say, well, that's what your job, right? So what do you do in that situation? Right? This is a negotiation, by the way. And in a separate lunch and learn series where we talk about negotiating tactics, never start a negotiation, right? Because if they come back and say it's 500, it'd be like, yep, done, great, sells for 6. I mean, we don't want to underprice homes, don't get me wrong. But if they're realistic with their pricing, you don't want to push them away from being realistic. And makes your life a lot easier, good to go, right? If they say, no, that's what you can always say, I tell you what, I'll write it down. But I want you to tell me first. It's fine, right? And then if they say, I think it's $1 million. So then now your conversation goes, why do you think it's worth $1 million? Right? And then it's my theory that I'm never going to convince anybody to do anything. I do not convince people. I do not change minds. Makes life so much easier. I don't need to argue with anybody, right? But what I do is I say, here's all the information. It's up to you, right? And then you can have your conversation. If it's a little bit higher, you say, well, why? Where are you getting that number from? Right? It makes you more conscious over their thoughts and asking questions. It's a great question to ask them. And, and then I start to go through and I'll show them comps. Do you think your house is inferior or superior to this comp? Oh, well, that one doesn't have a garage. Mine has a garage. Great. So we should get more than that. Oh, mine doesn't have a garage and that one has a garage. Okay, so then why do you think that you can get more than a house that has a garage and yours doesn't? Right? I tell people all the time, they're like, well, I put $500,000 into it. There's a couple of things that don't affect the value of your home. What you paid for, what you put into it, what your neighbor thinks, what Zillow says, right? There's one that does affect what the values of the home is what somebody is willing to pay for it, and what the market should show you that based on what somebody else has paid for a similar home down the street. End of list. That is the end of the list. That is the only part of the list of what makes a house's value, right? So, so sometimes when we walk into homes, I haven't seen the inside of the home. I don't know what it's worth. A lot of the times I can get a pretty good idea of the value and know what it's about to be worth. And then when I see it, I'm like, oh yeah, that checks out. This is what I thought. And it's about in line with what I thought. But sometimes I go, oh, there's a gold toilet that's going to be included with the home. Right? Like, I didn't think about that. Okay. Whoa, there's 5 full bedrooms in this house. I only thought there was 3, right? Don't be afraid to say, now that I've seen the home, I'm going to go home and do some research and I'll get back to you. Don't be afraid to say that, right? Especially as you're getting, A lot of people will call me and ask me, I do not feel comfortable, just so you guys know, I don't feel comfortable telling you guys what you think, what I think that somebody else's house is worth. That's your guys' job. But I'm happy to take a look at your analysis anytime and tell you what I would look at and what I wouldn't look at, or how I would phrase it and how you're going to deliver it to the client for them to truly understand the market. When I was younger in the industry, I felt myself getting into a lot of sticky situations. A lot of, I thought, when I didn't have closings or when I was working so hard, going through so many listings that didn't sell, why do I keep getting stuck in this situation? And it was, maybe it was because my clients were making bad decisions and why me, why me, why me? And what I started doing is I started teaching my clients more about the market. And you know what's crazy is they started agreeing with me more. They started knowing what I know. They started signing listing agreements. They started agreeing with my valuation. So what I always do is I make sure to provide them with market stats along with my listing. I'm going to go grab what I bring into a typical listing presentation that I was going to bring yesterday. And I'll show you guys kind of what I do, what I go through once you set it up. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes to do. You should get really, really good at them and crank them out, crank them out, crank them out. Look super professional. Will help you with a lot of the costs and marketing materials and all that stuff. But provide market stats. Okay. Then as soon as I leave the house, make sure to follow up later, or as soon as possible, but after. Literally, sometimes I'll go sit in my car and write a thank you for showing me around the house when I drive the car around the corner. That fast, right? Subconsciously, you are going to be working for them to sell their home. If you're following them so quickly, you are therefore going to follow up with all the buyers who are interested in selling their home. If your marketing materials look great that you bring into the house, by transitive property, the marketing materials for their house are going to look good that you're going to be showing buyers. So back to pricing for one last thing, right? I typically recommend that our agents go into every pricing recommendation to say, I think it's worth 500, but I think that you should try for a little bit more than what I think it's worth. Therefore, you won't feel like you're leaving any money on the table, right? What you're doing is you're building in a price drop conversation, makes you more confident in your number, because what if you're wrong, right? Right? I know so many people that aren't sure and they're back and forth on the number because you're kind of a blind guess. But guess what? You kind of have your range there, right? What happens if you sell it for 530? You're a hero. What happens if you sell it for 500? You're a hero, right? It's a win-win. Now, what if you said, yeah, I think it's 500 and you sell it for 530? That was 550. Well, maybe. So I always recommend that pricing strategy. Not every situation, right? Sometimes people are like, it's worth 200 and I want 500 for it. And yeah, I go, okay, well, fine. No, I hate telling no to a client. Everybody does, right? But you can pad your history and you can put it in writing. And this happens to me all the time. People, do you guys take listings that are overpriced, right? I give a recommendation. I lost a listing to, I'm not going to name any names, but biggest agent in town in a certain market, right? Over the last like 10, 15 years. Number one. And I went in and I said, yeah, it's worth 1.7. And the guy came back to me and I was like, do you want to use me? You want to use me? He goes, I really liked your marketing. I think it's much better. And I really wanted to go with you, but I had to go with the other guy because he said that he'd give me 1.8. The listing was 2 years on the market, last listed at 1.5 and didn't sell. Right? What's the difference? It cost the other agent $150 and he could then advertise that listing. Right? Yeah, he didn't make any money. But guess what? He sold a lot of other houses in that neighborhood. Right? And I'm not saying take overpriced listings. I thought it was worth 1.7 and it wasn't. There's no fault or, we tried. Why not try for them? Right? I'm not saying overprice your listings, right? But that's a little bit of the difference, right? So if you know of another agent in there, you can asking the sellers what they think, for pricing. You know, I don't like telling no to somebody, but I want to take that listing all day at 1.8. Right? I mean, maybe not with as much hindsight, knowing that it didn't sell, that doesn't matter. I would have listed it for 1.8. Right? So don't be afraid to say, fine, yeah, but I want to put in writing to you that I don't think it's worth that. And I need in writing from you that if it doesn't sell, that you are going to be more realistic, because I don't want to waste my time with having a price conversation after a certain amount of time on market. I read something the other day. It was a 10-10-0 rule. If it's 10 days on the market with 0 showings, you have a conversation, it's mispriced. Or if you have 10 showings with no offer, you're mispriced. Right? So don't be afraid to say, yes, happy to try for X, but I think it's worthwhile. You're pre-building in a price drop conversation so that when you come back and it's a month later, 2 weeks later, now I told you so. Right? Hey, remember? It was exactly what and then people start to trust you more too. Right? And all of a sudden you drop the price, you start getting offers, and it sells, and you go, dang, he's good. Right? We talked about following up. Sometimes when I follow up, there's like a bunch of different pieces. I break out my email to them following up in a bunch of different pieces. What are the 3 things that are, I think there's 3 or 4 things that a seller typically cares about, right? Number 1, price. Number 2 is timing. Number 3 is headache. There's a 4th one that only certain people really want to get into, which is like marketing. I don't typically dive into the marketing strategy. When somebody says, what are you going to do to market my home? I say, you're going to be everywhere. Take an omnipresent marketing approach to getting your house out. What does that mean? Like, I'm going to do everything to get it everywhere. I don't know what to tell you. Like, doesn't need to go in further detail, right? Yeah, like real estate is not rocket science. Go with the MLS and you list it in there. That's where most eyeballs are. And is that it? Is that easy? No, because there's a lot of many different pieces to that. I usually tell people all the time, anybody can be a real estate agent. It is not hard. But what is hard is putting together all of the pieces. This piece is never hard. That piece is never hard. This piece is never. I even tell my clients that marketing is not hard. But the first piece and the middle piece and the piece after and the end piece, doing them all right is hard. And that's why you don't see agents have the closings, right? There could be somebody who's the best at entering things into the MLS and their listings would sell better than anybody else. But guess what? When somebody shows up at the house to see it, like they don't want to buy the house, right? Like I've never actually, the house sells itself. You don't have to worry about that either, right? What we do and our main goal is not selling real estate. Our main goal is selling our services. The real estate sells itself, but people think and they call it that you're selling real estate. Okay, so timing, right? It's big. Oh, my clients are out of school. Well, okay, does that depend on time or what that affects price? And a lot of the times, one of these things is typically a priority to them. So ask questions. I don't say, what's a priority for you? Time, price, or headache, right? No, I don't say it. Stop, listen. Sometimes what I do in a conversation, right, is I go, oh, right? I don't actually do that part, but I go, oh, really? And then people will start to tell you their deepest and darkest secrets when they're trying to fill the void of silence. And listen to those. And be a nimble salesperson like we talked about. So I lay out in my follow-up, sometimes I use it to get in the door even, but price is what I recommend, marketing details, timing. Sometimes it's the headache, right? The headache piece not on here, but like, what are the things they need to do to get it on the market and how can you help them? That's helping them with the headache, right? I'll do all the showings. Tell them, like, what are some things that they care about that will add to the headache? I can help you get a contractor in there. Or don't fix up the kitchen because you don't need to, right? Or here's what the price would be if you didn't fix up the kitchen, right? Tell them the things that they care about, lay that out in the email. Sometimes they'll tell you other things that you need to address in that follow-up. And I end with costs, right? What do we cost? And I always include that we pay for all the marketing expenses, right? Our standard listing agreement that we recommend has a cancellation clause that say that they pay you back if they cancel early, some things happen, right? And you get reimbursed for that. So you had a little bit of a, but tell them you pay for professional photos. It's standard. It's what we recommend that we do here for our agents to the clients, but pay for the marketing photos for them. It's not that expensive, right? What are professional photos cost? I don't tell them what it costs, but we can do backwards drone flipping videos through any house. Every one of our photo shoots comes with a drone shot, right? So they can understand relativity and where the real estate is in the market, right? I usually recommend that you guys have a standard thing that you charge, but people always want to feel like they're getting the discount. Somebody that I know, their listing agreement literally has a number in there crossed out and the number that they always charge right next to it, and it's pre-initial. So every single one of them has that, right? So people feel like they're getting the discount, right? If you guys do offer a discount more than 2.5%, you got to come check with us because legally that's what we tell you that we charge. That's what we advertise. But we are understanding to get deals done. We do want to be able to provide discounts to our clients beyond that in certain situations. But you got to come to us and get that pre-approved before you offer it to a client. Okay. The office will countersign any agreement at 2.5 or above, guaranteed. Obviously, we have certain caveats and situations that may be beyond that. Some clients suing us or something, obviously I can't work with them, right? But at 2.5 or above, they countersign, they take care of it. You don't even need to ask me about it. If it's beyond that, they can't, and it's got to go through a whole proof process unless we have pre-designated that for you, right? Then you end it with asking them for a thumbs up. Make it really easy. Again, you're going to avoid them and giving them more headache. Make it really easy on them to move forward. How do you do that? What do we do for that in that situation? Right? Right? I just say, all you gotta do, give me the thumbs up. Literally, they send me 1-character text messages. Yeah, whatever. Right? But they give me the thumbs up text. Right? I know a lot of other agents who put together listing agreements and they send them off. We had an agent who used the transaction coordinator service to put together 20 listing agreements and send them off. And I charged him for every single one of them. And only one of them got signed. I was like, what are you doing? Like, that's just a huge waste of time. Nobody wanted to move forward with any of this stuff. And it takes time to put together the paper. I mean, granted, the way that we have it set up, it's super easy. All you have to do is enter in an address, name, number, email address that you send it to. And it's pretty easy to send out, right? Or it should be really easy. The first one, it takes you a little bit longer as you learn how it works, but it should be super easy for you to do from your phone. But make it really easy on them to give you the thumbs up. And once somebody says they're going to use you, kind of locks them in psychologically too, right? Right? So say, hey, just give me the nod. Give me the gun. And I'll do it. I'll get it going for you. And sometimes what I do is I dangle. Sometimes people don't. I really want a flyer of my home. No, I don't want a flyer of my home. That's not what I want as a seller. What do I want as a seller? Sometimes they think they want professional photos. That's the next step, right? So that's where their mind is. That's what they think they need. So sometimes what I'll say is, I'll get the photos in there tomorrow. Right? And I highlight that it's about the photographer. I'll get them in there. Hey, right? You want to move forward? I'll bring a photographer over here right away. And they go, oh yeah, let's get the photographer in. I go, I gotta sign the agreement, right? But that's what they want. And guess what? Oh my gosh, like, you're the only one I talk to. I need to get the photographer in here in a couple days. A lot of the times these things are like a hurry up and go, 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 go kind of thing. So if you had that conversation, it's the next day they thought about it. They want to get the photographer in here tomorrow. Well, there's no other person they're gonna be able to talk to, meet with. Get a CMA for, most agents aren't even gonna reply to them within 24 hours, right? And then their photographer has that time scheduled, right? So give them timing, give them literally when the photographer can be there, right? And then sometimes I just say, hey, they'll be there 48 hours, they're open, so whatever time. And if that time, oh shoot, sorry, it got booked. Yeah, you can bring it in if you want, right? If you want to tell them, they're more than welcome to bring it in until we finish. I guess the food's arrived, so we're nearing the end here. A couple last things. Any questions for now? What time we got? Oh wow, we've had an hour already. This is such a good one. I could spend hours. Woo! Yes, Gaga.
Yes, God.
That's one of the real estate pre-licensing class teachers says all the time. Nobody knows what it means, but he says it over and over and over. He actually tells you what it means, but nobody really understands it. Out of all things that he teaches, it's the one thing that he doesn't teach well.
He doesn't teach that.
Yeah.
No.
And it's the one thing you never heard. Yes, Gaga.
He's got a catchphrase.
Yeah, and I think he does it to people fall asleep. But
Yeah, it gets us back on track.
Okay. For strategy wise, any questions that you guys have now about how we typically what I've recommended? Do you agree with everything? You guys agree with everything I say? Really? Wow, I love that. God, I'm good. As a salesperson, you're never going to win every deal, right? Some people are going to be like, oh my God, why would you ever ask me for the price first? I'm never going to use you, right? But your job is to appeal to the most people out there so your conversion rate goes up. Andy. Sure. No, you're fine. You're fine. You're good. You're good.
So when you go on a listing strategy, you
Sure.
bring anything if you like.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what kind of.
Thank you for bringing that up. Instead, I was going to show everybody. I was going to bring you to go.
They put someone ask a question if you're right.
Okay, so typically have a cloud CMA. We paid a lot of money to have custom pages in cloud CMA. Once you set it up, it takes a couple of minutes to set up for the first time. Bring your profile picture in there. It's all free, connected to the MLS. The pages that we go through, talk with Jenny. She knows how to set it up. We've got a video recorder in the library of what it should look like. An example. If you want access to it at 2 a.m, you're up late doing it, you can do it. But work with our office, we'll help you do the first one. Once you have it set up, there's a way to save it so that it's sticky in the template. When you go and add your comps, it's just dark. Okay, right? And the cloud CMA, this is the cloud CMA here. And I bring a folder. Both of these are available. We don't charge for them yet. These are a little expensive and we may start charging for them soon. But even if front desk will even help you bind these. If you email to them, give them some time. Don't come in here. I do this, unfortunately. But they like me more than you guys. So sometimes I'm like on my way to the listing appointment. I'll email to them. I'm like, oh, I'm running late. Can you do it for me? Please don't do that. Please don't do what I do. But no, I'm getting better at giving them time in advance, heads up. Cloud CMA, and then I print a folder. In my folder, I have market stats, and I'll go through those in a second. But the Cloud CMA starts with, and this is our custom content, right? We have a cover page that is custom. I always put a photo of the home. I don't know. That's too wide. A photo of the home. Don't be afraid to steal it from the MLS. You are not marketing this photo, and you are not stealing somebody else's photo. It is what is on the MLS. You are providing them with information. You're not sending this out to the public, so you're not stealing somebody else's photo. This is Google Maps. There was no photo. This house is not sold in over 30 years. So I just stole the Google, I just do a crop from Google Maps. I plug it in there. I highly recommend that you do it. Also, Cloud CMA asks you for like their name. I always put their address and their name in there because sometimes clients have multiple properties that you're doing multiple CMAs for, and you want to organize it. Like you don't want to have John Smith 1, John Smith 2, John Smith. Oh, and then the second page, this is the page that I spend the most time on, right? I sit down when we're going through, we talk about value, we're going over the comps, right? This is the page. I pull out a pen and I mark this thing up. I circle, highlight, star, talk about up, down, arrows, whatever I need in my conversation. I spend the most time on this page. It is the map. It is the addresses and a list of all the comps. Okay. This is where I spend the most time. I go back and I reference comps and I come back to this page. All right. And then at the end, I say, oh, and at the end, there's a whole bunch of stuff about us. Feel free to read when you got time. And I don't even go through it. Well, you know, I walked into a listing appointment one day in the Hancock. It was an entire floor. It was a company generated listing. Thank you very much. We gave to a broker, and the broker starts going through this is our marketing team, and I saw the eyes, and the guys had to roll that, and I was like, "Oh, hang on, buddy, hang on, right?" And this is where being a good salesman, being conscious about what you're doing, right? And then is everybody taking a disc profile test? We talk about that, right? In a lot of our training series, you got to know what that means. Everybody has different personalities. Typically, salespeople are not the most detail-oriented people. Good salespeople are both good salespeople and detail-oriented, but there are type A personalities out there who want to go through every single cross their T's and dot their I's, you know. And there are people who really don't like. Two type of people in the world: ones that go to bed peacefully with 100 million unread emails in their inbox, and there are people that cannot go to bed with an email unread in their inbox. Right, and they usually like each other, which is crazy. My wife and I. My wife. So guess which one has the unlimited emails in their inbox? But anyways, some guy walks in, start going through it all, and I just go, wait, hang on. And I go, what do you want for it? Boom, right to the point. He goes, yeah, now we're talking. I want 1, 2. What do you think it's worth? And I go, I think it's worth 1 million. Right? We go, boom. That's what he wanted to talk about, right? The end stuff is there if you need to go through it, and they want to go through it. There is all this stuff all about our different services that we title company, rental division, management company, and all that stuff that you can get into, but I typically don't. I usually then therefore, you know, I'm gonna say, well, what company, you know, there's a little bit about us, is you know, and there's a little bit in there about us. Right? If you highlight that before they even ask you, you don't need to go into it. A little bit more about us, right? We're gonna be updating this soon. And we'll be sharing with everybody when the updates come out. We just want to refresh some of the stuff in there. Then I print this separately. I usually bind it in here. These are the market stats. This is Info Sparks. It is in the tools section of the MLS. It is also free. I do 4 things always. First one is median sales price and a graph. It's standardized rolling 12-month average in 3 years. By stand, all I got to do is go in there and type. If it's in the city of Chicago, I put the zip code in there. If it's in a sub-market or in a suburb, I just put the suburb entirely in there. If you want to get specific, you can get as granular as down to the building itself. Some of these buildings and these condo buildings are their own little sub-markets because there's so many units in the building. And if you want to get into a building, you go and draw a custom map of just that little square, and then everything comes up in it. Right? Median sales price, right? You have market time, average market time. Now, from median sales price is the crux. You don't do average. It's median sales price. It's the default one when you first open it up, so you don't have to remember it. Average market time. Somebody goes, well, how long is it going to take for me to sell my house? There you go. On average, right? But I usually say, keep in mind, there's a lot of people who want a lot more for their house and they don't end up selling, and that affects your market time. So keep that in mind. Next one, average percent of original price. So, if I list for $1 million, what do you think it'll sell for, right? There, on average, this is the discount, right? For what it sells for. It's also a good indicator for strength of the market. And then the last one is month supply. Does everybody know what that term means? Tricky one. Tricky one. It's a statistic of two statistics, right? It is, here's how I remember it. Pretend that take today's average number of homes that sell every month and memorialize it. Right? So let's just say in a market, 10 homes sell in this subdivision every month, right? Now, then take the number of homes that are currently available for sale. There are currently 50 homes that are on the market. How long, if you put no new homes on the market and you kept the average monthly that you currently are at, how long would it take for you to sell out that inventory? Right? There's 50 homes in the market, average 10 sell every month. It would be 5 months supply. Okay, that's how I remember it. That's a really good thing to remember. It is a complicated thing to teach your clients as well. I understand it. If you understand how I teach it to you, you can use it to teach it to them. Now, what does it mean? 5, good, bad, right? Up, down, like we can understand, like, all right, down, what, down, 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 down. Ooh, that's good, right? Because less homes in the market make the sellers in the market. Now, Zillow used to say that above or below 6 is a buyer or a seller's market. They changed it. Now they say 5. So above 5 month supply, it is a buyer's market because there's more inventory for them to choose. They have more buying power because they can negotiate. Below 5 is a seller's market. There's less inventory. Buyers have less choices, multiple offers, tons of buyers lining up around the corner. More demand, less supply. And showing them that graph is going to help you teach them about the market and convince them or make them convince themselves of what the price is. Those are the things that I buy. Any that is a great bring. Those are the things that I bring. Those are the things that I bring to the listing appointment. That's a great question. Thanks for bringing that up. They walk in with this, leave them there. If you need to update it, you can go back and update it. The cool thing about Cloud CMA is that these comps can be from yesterday, and you are bringing a hardbound book in there with yesterday's data. Wow, you're good.
Yeah.
Right? Any questions? Any other questions?
Go back to that middle point, it's this first showing of open house.
Oh, strategy. I don't want to touch on this too long, but this is what we found work out really well. I typically recommend you listing a house midweek. If you took photos or you get them back on Friday, think about, don't, unless they're super, 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 super urgent, don't put the house in the market late on a Friday, right? Tuesdays, Wednesdays, great. Like early Wednesday gives you enough time to generate interest until the open house that weekend. Pick a date. Don't do 3-hour open houses. Please don't waste your time. For me, give me the extra time by using that extra time to call a bunch of people and get some new clients. But guess what? If somebody wants to buy the house, they're going to show up midday on a Saturday or Sunday. And if they're not interested, if they're really interested and they can't, they're going to send a family or friend. And if they're not willing to do that, they're not interested in buying the home, so don't waste your time. Okay. I typically say no showings until the first open house. Get your client to agree to it and make sure you tell them that the seller's direction. Because if you don't do a showing within 48 hours, the MLS, it's like an MLS violation or something like that. But if it's the seller's direction, then you can do whatever you want. Hold firm, hold your ground. I know so many people that get phone calls, oh, please, 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 and then they get in there, right? And guess what? The whole point is to create a hype. And I tell clients this is a strategy. Sometimes I don't tell my clients the strategy if they're going and talking to a bunch of other agents. I typically want to be the last one in the door if they're interviewing multiple brokers so they don't steal my strategy and tell them other people. And I can say, I can up the game of all the other people and I'm the last one and I know they're ready to make a decision. But if typically I'm the first one in the door because they're only interviewing one broker these days, people are inherently lazy, like we said, that, you know, you show up on time, say the right things, they tell you all about the house, they're not gonna do it again. But sometimes I decide to tell them this strategy, sometimes I don't, but this is what I tell them ahead of time, and I'm confident in my strategy, and I create a hype, right? The house is what it's worth. The house is gonna sell itself, right? You may be able to push it by 0.001% one way or the other by, you know, you could probably actually really shoot your client in the foot by doing some really bad things, don't get me wrong, but the house is gonna be what the house can be worth, right? You put it on the MLS, it's got tens of millions of eyeballs out there. So hold the showings until the first open house. What you're doing is you're creating a tizzy buying environment, whether or not one exists. And guess what? If it doesn't exist, you made it easier on your client because they only had to open the door one time in the week. I can't tell you, when I first listed houses, I'd get, oh, can you show it? You know, today's Thursday, I listed it today, Friday at 9 a.m. I'm like, yeah, I don't got anything going on then, Friday 9 a.m. The next showing comes back, can you show it at noon? I'm like, yeah, I can show it at noon. I don't have anything going on. I'm planning on doing this. And then 5 o'clock. Then I'm there at 9, noon, 5, and then I got showings on Saturday. I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Right? Open house, one day. Use showing time. Now, obviously, if you're doing it at an open house, people are going to show up when they show up. They don't have to sign up on showing time, whatever. Oh, another reason why we want to do it, not only I create this tizzy hype. If it's a younger person, I call it a vibe. Always have a sign-in sheet. One of the reasons why I like doing this too is because other buying agents are lazy. They'll send their client without you. And if they really don't like their client and you do a good job of following up with them, you could be picking up buyers on your listing. Just like the good old days before Zillow started stealing them and selling. Right? So it's a good way to generate unaccompanied buyers on your listings. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, how does that work when you have a buyer's representation? Let's say that.
If I'm doing a really, really bad job for a
say
client,
The buyer.
the buyer, right? It's fine. You have, so what? He's got an agent. He puts a house in. He was going to show it anyways. You just set up a time for a showing for them. The agent doesn't need to be there. They have an agent. They have an agent.
Yeah, you're talking about acquiring these buyers.
Oh, well, if they have an agent, they have an agent. I'm not acquiring them. But if they have a bad agent, right? So if I signed a buyer broker agreement and I did a terrible job and I was unethical by not communicating or responding to my client, because that happens a lot
Yeah.
in a lot of different people in situations, right? Buying agents specifically, because sometimes the buyers could be not giving them back the information. And then when something comes live already, they're like, oh, wow, this guy was a tire kicker, right? So guess what? That agreement is null and void if they're now being unethical. And I tell you what, if I don't call my clients back and they've signed a buyer broker agreement with me and I'm not calling them back and I'm not doing a good job, I can't hold them to my buyer broker agreement, right? And you'd be surprised how many times. But at the end of the day, that's just like saying, well, why would you show it to somebody that doesn't want to buy the house? What if they have a buyer broker agreement? I'm not trying to steal anybody, right? I'm doing it to acquire buyers. What happens if they don't have a buyer broker agreement? Because there's a lot of people out there that still aren't signing them.
Yeah.
Right? What happens if that buyer broker agreement is expired 3 years ago? I mean, there's all these what ifs, like that's a crazy type of that. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, you're doing it to a target unaccompanied buyers, whether or not they have an agent. Goal is that they don't have an agent yet, right? I'm not trying to, lie, cheat, and steal people out of their buyer broker agreements for stuff, but you'd be surprised, right? I highly recommend using showing time, whether or not you're using the open house. Obviously, agents don't have to, they just send their clients to the open house. Sometimes you know they're showing up, sometimes you don't. But use showing time in general for showings thereafter. It's great for being able to track, automatically ask for feedback. Please, if you are a buyer's agent, provide feedback to the listings that you're showing. You don't realize, so many agents don't give me feedback, and I hate it. And as a listing agent myself, when you really want feedback, please make it a point to be good at what you do and give feedback to the agents, whether or not you know what it is, right? But hey, just want to communicate with you. I haven't heard back from my client, I'm trying to get you feedback. They won't tell me. Just get back to them, right? So many times people just ignore those, and it's not cool. So do it for them so that they do it for us. Okay. And one of the beauties is when there's tenants in a property, so many agents say, "Oh, I can't sell the place because the tenants are a problem." Well, do you have a key? Do you have a key to the place? No, that's a problem. Get it from the seller. You don't have a key, they don't have a key, seller doesn't have a key, tell the tenant you're changing the locks, give them 48 hours notice, and they can get a copy of the key. It's legal. You should have a key. As a landlord, you have the right to have a key, right? Provide the tenants notice. I'm not saying be a jerk and say, we're coming in, right? To be like, hey, tenants, happy Friday, right? Tell them that they can opt out of the showing if they want, right? But I'm providing you notice, 48 hours notice. Please, hey, hey, happy Friday, happy Thursday. Just want to let you know on Saturday at, today's one, it's 1, so it's noon, so 1, we're gonna show the place. Let me know if that's an issue. I had this one guy respond to me the other day. It was in a 50-unit building, and he said, "Oh my God, it was a student housing, and he was undergrad at University of Chicago. And he was going to Harvard Business School. He had an interview to get into Harvard Business School." And I said, "I tell you what, don't worry about it. I'm not going to do your showing on your place." And we ended up showing a different unit, didn't even need to get into his unit. Or, you know what I tell him? And then, "Oh, that's usually when I wash my hair and I take a shower." It's like, okay, we'll do that later. No, thank you, right? You don't have to agree to it, right? Right? We have questions, Kirby. Do you have any other questions? Because they're still interested in asking questions. Sure, please.
Or so I feel like naturally the seller might want to sell it for a little more than.
Yeah,
Biggest.
right. Yeah, get that all the time.
So what is the norm for like price drop compared? Is it like 10 days, like you said?
There's no right answer to that. It's an art, not a science. It all depends, right? How many showings do you get, right? How close is the price? What do you think it's worth, right? How many eyeballs have been on it? You can see on the MLS. Does everybody know how to see on the MLS how many clients are marked interested or not interested? How many people came to your open house, right?
Also, if it's
No showings, no interest. I have a whole bunch of showings at a place. I've got somebody begging me for the reserves of the condo association. I think the place is 35, 45K. It's like it's listed for like 485, 495. It's probably worth 450, maybe even that, right? And the seller doesn't want to drop.
When you list a property, very important that your clients know what the competition is for their houses.
Yeah.
So if they want to list it high at $499, and there are nicer houses for $430, when people are looking to make appointments and stuff, are they going to look at this worse house at $499? Look at it. You need to tell your clients. There's no price at this month.
Yeah,
This is a problem. So they need to know the competition that they're going into when they go on the market. It's your job to show them what they come.
like I told you that a lot of agents have safe searches set up for listings because they're working with buyers, right? They don't look at the sales. Well, they're not trying to look at the sold property, right? Same thing goes for listing agents. They don't look at active listings, especially after the listing goes live on the market. They're not going through and pulling comps again. They already told their client what it's worth and have their valuation. But if you're not seeing and knowing that market, that's why I always say, have a safe search for whatever market you're working with for everything listed and under contract. So you get notified when something, oh my gosh, that went listed and went under contract real quick. I remember just seeing that house the other day. And then when it goes sold, oh, wow, like you can update your clients on it, right? So anyways, there is no right answer for it. If you want my recommendation, I don't feel comfortable giving a specific recommendation, but I can tell you what to look at. If you're ever interested or have a situation in that type of scenario, anybody here is more than welcome to come to me and talk to me about what you would do and some strategy to tell your clients to wake up. I'm sure a lot of people are hungry. So if you guys want to stay, I'm happy to stay and talk and answer some other questions. and chat with you a little bit more. But we're gonna take a little bit of break, get some food, get something to drink, and we can hang out and continue the conversation further if you guys want. Cool. Thank you guys for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Woo, that was good. Man. Restroom. It is the second to one last sound night. And
Yeah, always thanks, that's good.